Now we have studied the three states of matter: solid, liquid, gas, arrangement of particles in these states. Now comes interconversion of these states. Now these states are interconvertible. You can convert a solid into liquid, a liquid into gas, a gas back into liquid, and a liquid back into solid through different physical changes. The first change which we are going to study is melting. Now melting is a process by which a substance changes from solid to liquid at its fixed melting point. Okay, melting point is the temperature, a fixed temperature at which all the solid melts into a liquid. Acha, how does the melting occur? For a solid to change into liquid state, it has to be heated to its melting point. And what is the melting point? That's the fixed temperature at which all of the solid is converted into from solid state into liquid state. Whenever a solid is heated, its particles gain kinetic energy. They start gaining kinetic energy, start moving faster, and the forces of attraction weakens between the particles. And its temperature obviously increases. When its temperature, because it is being heated, when its temperature reaches near its melting point, now the particles have gained so much energy that they overcome the forces of attraction, they break away from their fixed positions and change into a liquid state, moving in groups and clusters from one place to another. So this transition you have to explain. This is where this is the melting point where actual melting is occurring. जैसे ही आप solid को heat करते हो वो वैसे ही melt करना नहीं शुरू करता. In the beginning, only the particles of the solid gain kinetic energy, they start moving faster, the forces of attraction becomes weaker, and it goes on till the temperature reaches their melting point. At the melting point, the kinetic energy of the particle becomes so strong that they overcome the forces of attraction, they break away from their mean positions and start moving in groups and clusters, changing from solid state to the liquid state. Right? So ये transition आपको आनी चाहिए, because paper में they do ask you questions कि how when a solid is heated to its melting point, what happens to the arrangement of particles, to the movement of particles. The arrangement becomes loose, disorderly, from orderly to disorderly, and the particles, instead of vibrating, they start moving in groups and clusters from one place to another. Okay. Now comes the heating curve. Melting के साथ ही आपका heating curve आ जाता है. Now naphthalene is a solid. It is at room temperature. What happens when it is heated from the room temperature? Obviously its temperature will increase. It will increase. If you'll plot a graph of temperature versus time, it's being heated, its temperature will increase. Now when it reaches 80 degrees Celsius, the temperature stops increasing. You are still heating it, but the temperature is not increasing. Now what does this time period tells you? This is the time when it is starting to melt. This is its melting point. Remember, the temperature, the fixed temperature on the heating curve is the melting point. Whenever the melting is taking place, the temperature of the solid will not change till it has converted to liquid. All of it has converted into liquid. Because at this time, whatever heat you are giving it by heating is not used to increase the temperature. It is used to break the forces of attraction, to convert solid particles into liquid particles. It is used to overcome the forces of attraction. So this is the latent heat. And remember, how do we recognize the melting point in a heating curve? The fixed temperature. जो भी instead of increasing, जब temperature fixed हो जाए, that fixed temperature is the melting point. So from B to C, it's the melting point. And from B to C, two states of matter are coexisting. What are these two states? Solid and liquid. From A to B, we have only solid. From B to C, we have solid changing into liquid. So we have two states. Remember, ये जो flat area होता है ये change of state show कर रहा होता है, and at the change of state we have two states coexisting together. At C, all of the solid has melted. Now the liquid state starts. So once all the naphthalene has melted, its temperature will further increase and till its boiling point. Boiling point पे जाके फिर वो दोबारा से flat हो जाएगा. So अगर second flat area आएगा, that would be the boiling point. So if such graph is given and they ask you what is the melting point of the substance, so whatever is the temperature corresponding to the horizontal line when the gradient is 0, represent the melting point. Solid to liquid its melting point. अगर ये liquid to gas का heating curve होगा तो वो boiling point होगा. So you should know. Opposite of melting is freezing. So freezing is the conversion of a liquid or cooling down of a liquid into solid state. Acha, one thing which you should remember, melting is an endothermic process because heat is given, heat is absorbed to change solid state into liquid state. Freezing, on the other hand, is an exothermic process. Heat is released. You are moving from a high energy state to a lower energy state. So what happens in freezing? You cool a liquid. When a liquid is cool, its particles lose kinetic energy. They lose energy to the surrounding. They start moving slower. When they start moving slower, the forces of attraction between the particles become stronger. They come nearer, and at the freezing point, they come so near and the forces of attraction become so strong that they become fixed to their places. Now they can only vibrate about their mean position. They cannot move freely in groups. So all particles settle into fixed positions and convert into solid state. So how a liquid changes into solid? That when a liquid is cool, its particles lose kinetic energy, they start moving slower, forces of attraction become stronger. At the freezing point, which is also the melting point, at the freezing point, they come so closer and forces of attraction become so strong that they become fixed to their places, their mean positions. Now they cannot move freely, they can only vibrate about their mean position, changing into solid state. Once the whole liquid has converted into solid, then the temperature can further drop. At the freezing point, the temperature again becomes constant because during the conversion of state, the temperature does not change. So this is the cooling curve of a solid, of a liquid to solid. So when liquid naphthalene, which has a temperature above 80 degrees Celsius, is cooled, its particles lose energy, but they are still in liquid state, disorderly arranged, moving in groups and clusters. But as they are cooled to 80 degrees Celsius, now their kinetic energy has decreased so much that they are so near to one another that forces of attraction become so strong that they start arranging in fixed positions in an orderly arrangement, changing into solid. Till all the naphthalene, liquid naphthalene, has changed into solid naphthalene, the freezing point will stay at 80 degrees Celsius. It will not change. Remember, whatever is the melting point, that is the freezing point too. And once whole naphthalene has converted into solid state, then further its temperature will decrease. Another change of state, boiling. Now boiling is again an endothermic process. Why? Because in order to boil a liquid into gas, you have to give energy. Energy is absorbed, heat energy. So it's an endothermic change, remember. So boiling is a process by which a liquid changes into gas state. Okay? And boiling point is the fixed temperature at which whole of the liquid changes into gas state. So what happens when you heat a liquid? Again, same thing happens. It's a heating curve. For example, water. You heat up water. Its temperature rises, keep on rising till it reaches 100 degrees Celsius. Now at 100 degrees Celsius, if you are measuring the temperature of water which you are heating, you will see that the temperature stops rising. It will not rise till all the water has changed into gas state. Once all the water has changed into gas state, then the temperature of the steam may rise, but during boiling the temperature remained fixed at 100 degrees Celsius, showing that 100 degrees Celsius is the boiling point of water. Now what is happening actually? When you heat a liquid, its particles gain kinetic energy, start moving faster, the distance between the particles increase, forces of attraction weakens, till the temperature reaches the boiling point. At the boiling point, the forces of attraction become so weak and the kinetic energy of the particles becomes so high that they overcome all the forces of attraction and they start moving randomly, freely in all direction, independently, constant random motion, most disorderly motion, that is in the gas state. So that's what happens at the boiling point. Once all the liquid has boiled, then the temperature of the steam or the vapors will further rise. That is why the burns caused by steam are more dangerous than the burn caused by the boiling water, because boiling water has a maximum temperature of 100 degrees Celsius, whereas steam can be at higher temperature than 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, now comes the comparison of evaporation and boiling. Boiling and evaporation is both the change of state from liquid to gas, but both are two different processes. Boiling occurs only at a fixed boiling point, and at this temperature the whole of the liquid changes into gas state. Evaporation can occur at any temperature. It is the conversion of a liquid particle into gas state. So it can occur, it normally occurs below the boiling point. Boiling occurs throughout the liquid. The whole of the liquid is changing into gas, whereas evaporation only occurs on the surface of the liquid, and you can increase or decrease the rate of evaporation by increasing or decreasing the surface exposed. So अगर आपने narrow mouth container use किया हुआ liquid के लिए तो there will be slow rate of evaporation. अगर आपने wide mouth है तो faster rate of evaporation. Boiling is a rapid process, जबकि evaporation is a very slow process. ठीक है? So evaporation is different from boiling in these respects. So these are the few changes of states. We have discussed melting, freezing, boiling, evaporation. There is another change that is called sublimation. Now what is sublimation? Conversion of a solid directly into gas on heating. आप solid को heat करो. So it is again an endothermic process, but उसमें solid melt नहीं करता. Solid changes directly into gas. Only the volatile solids sublimate. Volatile solids कौन से होते हैं? तो जिनमें simple covalent bonding होती है, like iodine, right? These solids on heating, their boiling point are low, so on heating they change directly from solid to gas state or vapor state. Another change of state which is not mentioned on this page is condensation. Now what is condensation? Condensation is conversion of a gas into liquid. ठीक है? So conversion of a gas into liquid is condensation, and condensation is an exothermic process unlike sublimation. Reverse है उसका. So condensation is an exothermic process because heat is lost. You are moving from a more energetic state to a less energetic state. So heat energy is lost to the surrounding, and condensation is a exothermic.